recording, and then I had to make that change, and then when I started streaming again, I neglected to hit start recording again. Sorry about that. It's recording from now. So I told you that because I kind of wanted to show you suppress. And I showed you that you can control suppress individually between configurations. Now, like if I made an assembly, so if I make an assembly now, so if I say new assembly, now I can put your parts in here, right? And I can actually, if I put two of them in here, what happened? If I put two of them in here, oops. I mean, I could put a screw, I could put a rubber band, I could put anything I have a model of in here. I just happen to have two of the same model, but I can change the configuration on one of them. So now one of them is Dave and one of them is Jay. So you can see the size difference. In their individual parts, I can maneuver them around. And now if I go into the drawing, so let's say I save this. I think I get your last name wrong here. I didn't get back to double checking it yet. But anyway, so I do sample. I call this, keyboard. I don't know why my keyboard's delaying lately. There it goes. And so then if I go create a new drawing, make drawing from assembly, and I can go back and answer, like when you miss all this stuff, how I did it, it's more important for me right now that you see that it can be done. And then later you say, hey, how do we do that again?
Yeah.
And so now I can bring in this drawing, and I can bring it in from a bunch of different views. I can take projected views, but then I can insert my bill of material, insert table bill of material, and select the drawing view, hit OK, put my bill of material in. So now I have a bill of material. Of course, then it's just saying sample twice because it's the same part twice. I can change that. I won't go into the details there, but I can change it so it represents them individually, blah, blah, blah. But we'll go back to... I keep going on tangents, but I figure they're of use to you. So I'm going back to the original part, and I'm going to roll back to before everything, and try to get back to... All right, so now where would you like to go from here, if you know? I'm back in your... There we go.
Okay, cool.
I'm back to the sketch.
So I guess we just have to pick one of the two that'll work best. It doesn't matter to me. I think we screwed up the top one. Or not really screwed it up, but I think we got an extra thing on the top one.
I think that's just this sketch.
Yeah.
I'll just roll back to before that sketch. There you go. So now I believe this is your original geometry from your Illustrator file.
Yep.
So, do we want to try to model, like you're saying, from this? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah. Let's just get rid of the bottom one and we'll just work off the top one, I guess.
Okay. And if I can always bring that back in later. I'm going to delete it. So I went into the sketch and grabbed all those and hit delete. Well, that seems like a lot of... That was like 170 elements. That seemed like a lot. I wonder if a lot of them are duplicates. See, the danger of... I always cringe a little bit when people come to me saying, hey, I had somebody do a bunch of this work and I'd like you to work from it because you don't know what you're getting into. So I suspect that some of these lines might be duplicates.
Right.
It might not be. They might not be.
No, I know exactly what you mean because I made a file and I took it to I did a demo at Lincoln Electric on this plasma table. We took this file, we cut it. Man, this thing was piercing. Every letter was piercing it 10 times, and it was just because it looked good it looked good to me before I brought it over there, but it didn't look good in their program. And we built it from scratch in their program, man, and it cut like perfect. And it was just because it was just dirty, the file wasn't really made for that. So I think it's the same principle.
Hey, let's back up. Something just occurred to me. So you did say that you did a significant amount of work with AutoCAD 2D, right?
No, not much. No, Photoshop.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say they have a SolidWorks has a free 2D CAD program. It's actually not even. I can't use that. It's not just 2D. It's 3D, but primarily 2D. But they basically have an AutoCAD clone. It's called DraftSite. You can download it for free. I use it, and it lets you do AutoCAD work without buying AutoCAD. And so you may want to mess with that. If you had experience with AutoCAD, it would be a great way to create geometry and then import it into here. But if not, then I wouldn't bother.
No.
So let's see. So
I used it just a tiny little bit, man. So long ago, I can't even remember anything, man. It's been 20 years probably since I've used any kind of AutoCAD.
So that's weird that extrude doesn't work from here. Must be because there's multiple segments that are multiple like closed segments. What did I just do? I think I just drew a line on accident. No? What is this? What is it? Oh, there's some artifact was on my screen. It was imaginary, I guess. My computer was imagining it. Alright, so let's see. So if I extrude this, that's weird that it wouldn't let me do that before. Alright, so I'm going to extrude this mid-plane. Oh, and you asked me how do I make the line thicker? So this number here, oops, this number here, this 0.1 is that number. So I can increase or decrease that.
So if you make it 0.125, that's going to be 1/8 inch, right?
Yeah. All right. Mid-plane. So yeah, you want an 1/8. One thing is I don't know that this is to scale, but we can always adjust the scale after. Not a problem. See, when I select... So, unfortunately, a lot of this will be sort of manual. And we already sort of did this, but that's all right. See, when I do this thin feature, it's leaving out a lot of the segments. How thick is your plate here, you figure? 16th or 1/8 inch or something? 3/16. Because
how deep? No. It's gonna be 3/4 of an inch extruded.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that's gonna be kind of weak, but yeah, 3/4 that'll be plenty strong. You're gonna have a lot of scrap material there, but you know what you're doing. So let's see. I wish it played a little nicer as far as like selecting. All right, so it's gonna make me select every line individually, which is a minor annoyance, but it is what it is. So let's just start with like one letter for now. How's that sound?
Start with what?
Well, let's just start with the star here instead of clicking out, because I have to click every line individually. So rather than going down that road yet, let's just start with this, and then once we make some progress, then we can do that. Of course, I missed one. Unless you really want me to take the time, it's going to take just a matter of taking the time to do it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Does that give me everything? So you basically have that. Now, one thing is you have a bunch of sharp corners, and I'm not sure if you want sharp corners or not. I think one thing we can do is, so like if you do a fillet command, which actually, no, you don't have a choice. Your top edges will be sharp because you're cutting straight in.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put a fillet like on this point, but if you wanted it, it'd probably already be there. But do you want me to?
I think we leave them sharp for now.
Okay. One thing I'm looking at is you're obviously going to have a kerf width. So like this spot will probably be more like a triangle without this opening.
Right.
So I think, and right here, so you'll find things like that. You know, that's just manufacturability. You know, that's just something to work through. I'm sure you get that. And
go ahead and do the whole thing.
Okay. I'll do that in a second. But so, do you see it having? Let's see. Let me go this. So it's ultimately going to be
probably make it like from the end of the D to the end of the star 10 inches. So scale it out from there, I guess, just so it starts.
well, before I get too far on that, one thing I wanted to see is how the rest of the plate is going to be. So like,
Oh yeah.
so that's what I just did there. So obviously it's not going to be solid because then it takes everything away. So if I change this, and so if I grab all of this and I go offset, which is O on my computer, um, and I offset that, I don't know, quarter inch, half inch. I'll go half inch. If I offset that a half inch, now put that there. Well, that's a bit much. But then I can go. Let's see. I'll do this. I'll offset that whole chain. Reverse half inch, and then I will come through here and trim these. Because it's one thing to say, hey, let's slap the logo on there, but it's another thing to figure out exactly how the logo will be joined to the rest of the plate, because that has to be realistic. So I'm sort of doing that here, just to give you an idea. So now, even this isn't quite realistic. Oh wait, I think I just confused myself on that. I kind of did that backwards. What did I do? I did sort of the opposite of what I wanted to do. And so sometimes it's a little puzzle to figure this thing out. Let's see. What if I do this? I just need to join all these segments here so they all can be in the same feature. And this right now will be a horrible manufacturing design, but just to give you an idea of what I'm getting at, and we can refine it. I'm just making sure everything's joined. So basically, things don't fly off into space. I don't know if that's going to work yet. Not yet. What am I missing? That. Oh. Need this. Still didn't do it. Did that do it? No.
What does each one of those green things mean?
Those are sketch relations. I was just turning them off just as you were asking, because basically, all right. So to answer that question, oh, you know what? This has this nice little magnifying feature. So each one. So I was pointing at other ones earlier that were, well. Let me recreate that one before. So basically, so this guy, see this guy I'm highlighting, this little cube.
Yeah.
That one means that it's reference geometry, so it's projecting the geometry. This one means, I'm going to wait till it catches up. This one means horizontal.
Okay.
So that line is forced to be horizontal. The one below it means the line's forced to be vertical. The other one below it means two lines are collinear. This the one with 79. That means two lines are collinear, not because of the 79, because of the shape. The one to the left of the circle, that means the intersection. So basically, there's a little blue point on two black lines where they intersect. So that forces them to stay intersected. Let's see if there's any other ones. So they're basically. So for example, see how some of the lines are blue and some of the lines are black.
Yeah.
The blue line means not fully defined, and the black line means fully defined. So like I can't drag the black line. I'm trying to drag a black line right now. Now if I go over to a blue line, I can grab a blue line and drag it because it's not fully defined. Now if I grab a blue line that has a horizontal relation to it, it will only stay horizontal. Whereas if I can click on the horizontal relation and delete it, and now if I grab that edge, that end, and drag it, now it'll go non-horizontal. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what those green things are. And you get too many and they get in your way, so I just go Shift R and I hide them all. So they just went away. But I'm gonna undo what I did there. Let me I'm just missing something spatially here. What is this? Oh, that's my problem. I found it. That's my problem, I think. Oh no, I had one other problem. Oh, that was this. That was here. Alright, now we're I thought we were in business. What am I missing? That is okay, I'm gonna go anyway. If I redo this. Oh, it just okay. I see. I sort of see what the problem was. I'm surprised it had the problem. But all right, so now I gotta turn off this magnifier. All right, so now I sort of wanted to show the whole plate. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to see how it was going to look in the whole plate. And obviously we'll be connected by more than just this one point, but I just wanted it connected. Right. All right, so now if we go back through, so now you want me to continue through with this guy.
All right.
So I'm going to go back to here and see. Notice now everything disappeared because I went back to edit this sketch, and because of the chronological nature of the feature tree, and I'm editing a sketch from up high in the feature tree, so now everything below it disappeared because they're not built yet. Follow me? But actually, it's funny because that's not where I meant to go, but that's what happened. But it'll do the same thing when I edit this feature. The same thing will happen. So now I'm in this feature, and the features after that feature disappeared. All right, so I'm going to go through and select all these edges. See, I can go select edges here with my filters, but for some reason it's selecting regions. Oh, it looks like it worked, but it's not showing up in the preview. How about if I click OK? No, didn't like it. So I guess I have to do them individually. I'll bite the bullet. Oops, wrong one. I'll bite the bullet and do these individually. Won't take too long. So typically you can just grab the features all in one rectangle, but for some reason it's not letting me. So I'm just going to do them individually. Oh, I got to highlight. Oh, is that my problem? No, it still doesn't do it. Oops. Alright, so I just have to. Well, I'm going to use my filter still, but I have to select them. Oh, that's kind of nice. At least it did the whole loop for me. See, I was afraid of this. Something, it doesn't like something in here. Something about having. So when it starts doing this, so it wants me to grab. We want to grab all these lines, right? But if I grab all the lines, something's not cooperating with something else. So this is a great time for a workaround, as we call it in the industry. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to leave this one as it is, and I'm going to add to it with another feature. So rather than trying to do it all in one feature, because because it's choking on trying to do it all in one feature. So I'm just going to do it in multiple features. So basically, I'm going to grab that sketch again, and I'm going to hit extrude again. So now it's an additional extrude, and I'm going to start grabbing more edges. Of course, my sketch is not really visible. Alright, now it is. I'm going to redo that. Go back into my extrude. I have to grab my sketch first. Extrude. Alright, and so now I'm going to I have to say thin feature again, and I'm just going to start selecting edges. Oh, I already got some on exit. Oh, and I need to put it back to mid plane, and 1/8 of an inch, and okay. See, sometimes you grab one edge and it breaks the whole thing, but sometimes you grab a couple more edges and then it's happy again. It's just kind of, it's a tricky way to do things. The thin features can definitely be finicky, getting them to cooperate nicely. I'm not sure exactly why it's not happy. It might be because of this bend. No, it can't be because of that. I mean, it's basically because of this hatching. Alright, so let's do it this way. I shouldn't have escaped out of there, but that's okay. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to go thin feature. I'm going to go mid plane. It's already at 1/8 inch. And so I'm just going to go with the ones that are cooperating for now. I'm going to skip the hatching. Why is that? Oh, highlight that. So, why doesn't it like that? Oh, maybe they all have to be touching. Oops. I mean, so ultimately, this is what it boils down to on a workaround situation like this: is you have to figure out which ones you can, click as many as you can, one at a time, and when it breaks, just unclick that one and keep going. Click as many as you can. And then get as many as you can on each feature, and then we'll go and just keep going back in and fill in the gaps. Hopefully it goes fairly smoothly.
And once you get this done, you can still scale this whole thing, but the metal will stay at 1.25 even if you scale it out, huh?
Yes and no. Yes, there are ways to do that, and there are ways to do it the other way.
If there's a way to lock it, regardless of what happens, you can lock that.
Well, I'll answer your question with a quick exercise here. So if I go, so there's a scale feature in the features, but there's also a scale sketch feature, and so I'll show you the difference. So if I go scale, oops, that's not scale. Before I answer you. All right, I won't get. I'll start with the sketch. So, all right, so our thickness is 3/4 inch. We know that. If I go into the sketch, before I go further, I'm going to save a backup file of this, so I don't have to start over if it happens. And I have this little workaround trick I use, and so there I have a backup file. All right, now I'm not afraid to break it. So now if I break your file, I can go back to my backup file. I like to work with a lot of backup files, especially if I'm being experimental. So to scale, so let's see, I'll scale. The first way is to scale the sketch. So if I grab this stuff and I go scale in the sketch features, and I say my point is here, and I go scale. Let's go scale 0.25 just for the. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go scale 0.2. So I'm going to make it much smaller. So now the sketch is much smaller. And if I rebuild it, I broke it. Never mind, I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to try scaling it bigger. Hopefully it works if I scale it bigger. So if I scale it it broke the geometry I scaled it too small. So if I scale it up from here, and I scale it 3 times. But anyway, you can see that the sketch is scaling now. And now if I get out of the sketch, okay, that time it worked. So now I don't know if you can picture it relative to what it was before, but it's the same thickness, but everything's 3 times bigger. So to illustrate that, I'm not going to change the view at all. I'm just going to undo everything and not change the zoom. So so this thing should get a lot smaller in a few clicks. Yeah. So you'll see it 5 seconds from now. Basically, I'm just undoing the scale text. The scale gets smaller, and now the whole thing's smaller again. So that's scaling by text, and so that will get you the same thickness, but allowing you to change. So basically, your thickness is the z-axis, and the plane is on the xy axis. The sketch is on the xy axis. So now you're just scaling by xy, but not z. And if that confuses you, it'll be a little clearer here. If I do it the other way, if I go into my feature scale, so I have a feature scale button here, and then I select these guys, and now actually, interestingly, I can do them individually. They're different bodies. They're separate bodies. I could scale one more than the other, or one and not the other, but I'll do both just for the same thing. So now I can say 3 times, but it's also going to get thicker, right? Oh, that's interesting. It did them. I won't go into. I'm going to skip some detail there, but I'm going to say origin. So basically, that scaled that up by 3 times, right? You can see, actually, that's interesting. You can see the sketch is a third the size of the bodies now. So the sketch is still small because I scaled the geometry. I scaled the solid model rather than the sketch. So see the difference there? And I can actually also do that non-uniformly. So if I unclick uniform scaling in my scale 3D, I can change it to I can scale in the z-axis 7 times or 12 times and then do it. And so now it's much thicker now. So I can scale non-uniformly. I can even do I can stretch it so I can go y is 15 times. And so now, see what it did to it? So it stretched it top to bottom a lot more than it scaled it left to right and up and down. So that's non-uniform scaling. So that's in this feature scale feature, whatever you want to call it, and non-uniform. But anyway, that's a little deeper into the weeds than I wanted to get. But you kind of asked the question, so I wanted to give you a thorough answer. So I am going to scale back behind that scale. I'm sorry, I'm going to roll back to before the scale. So we're back to where we were. And I'm just going to continue selecting edges in my second extrude thin.
And you could have deleted that scale too, right? You just deleted it?
Absolutely. I didn't like this one. Doesn't like that edge. See, sometimes it just lets you grab a whole bunch of these and it's happy. Oh, that just broke it. And unfortunately I don't think you can't really undo, the undo key doesn't work when you're in a feature like this, so you gotta be careful not to click too many things that broke it, because then you lose track and you have to start over. Starting over is generally bad, obviously. So I just continue. It's funny, this is the first time I've done this sort of one-on-one tutorial, and it is an interesting way to demonstrate why it's worth hiring me. Because I can work a lot faster than people with less experience. And I don't mean to say that braggy, I just mean to say that it's not bragging if it's on your resume, right? You know, sometimes you don't brag, but on your resume you're supposed to, right?
I can already see, if it's something complicated that needed, I can see how good you are at this. I could email you or have a conversation with you and send it to you, and if you were just doing it without having to explain it, you'd already had this thing knocked out in minutes, probably.
Pretty much, you know. But I have no problem with this. It's an interesting exercise to do this. So this is pretty cool.
I got to use the bathroom real quick. I got to take a quick bathroom break.
Okay,
Give me just a minute, okay?
I'll continue populating this. I'll be here.
All right. All right, I'm back.
Alrighty. Interesting. So like this guy's not happy. So I think it's something about this geometry. It doesn't want to extrude the a thin feature that thick. You know, I think it's the eighth of an inch. It's not that it's the eighth of an inch, but it's this corner geometry. And again, forgive me for the 5-second delay. I'm pointing at my screen, but you'll see it 5 seconds later. So that geometry that I'm pointing at there, I think because of their small line segments, it's sort of choking this extrude feature. So what I can do there is go in here and edit this sketch and say, we can say, this isn't rocket science. So if I get rid of this, you probably don't care. And I'm just going to clean this edge up and do this and trim that and then call it good. And it should be much happier now. To the point where I might even be able to add that into the first one. First extrude now. That might have been what we were choking
Right.
on.
I see.
Yeah, I think that was what was fighting us from the beginning that forced us to do it in multiple commands. And that's pretty typical, especially with imported geometry like this. But you can create bad geometry right in SolidWorks quite easily too. Don't get me wrong. But so I should do. Oh, it didn't like that. Well, anyway, I'll just continue with a new feature and do that. Make it thin, mid-plane. Oops. Select contours and continue. Didn't like that one. Didn't like that one. Oh no. Let's see. Oh, that's happy again. That guy. Oh, didn't mind that. I like some of these. I got two lines right next to each other. This geometry is definitely not optimized for this output. But we can get there. Just a matter of more features. Now that I think about it, what you may or may not want to do is have the hatching, these diagonal lines. You might want to have those thinner. You might want those thinner than the actual letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I'm looking now that I look at it like this, it's like Chinese writing or something.
Yeah.
Although I'm not done, so maybe it would be clearer after I was done. What are your thoughts on that? Continue as we're going, or should I make them two different thicknesses?
No, I think the same thing. I can't tell what the hell it is anymore.
Oh, so you want me to make them two different thicknesses?
Well, the only other thing is that how big is this thing from one end of the star to the end of the D? How big is that?
That's a good question. I was going to ask you earlier, just didn't get to it yet. Is what's the scale supposed to be on it? So right now,
let's make it 10 inches long for now.
Okay, so right now it's like 6.9. All right, so we want it 10 inches. So I'm just going to go into the sketch and scale the sketch. So you gotta be careful of just scaling the 3D geometry, because then your sketch is different size than your geometry. So it's a little trickier to track it. If you edit the sketch, it's hard to see what's going on once it converts to 3D. So I'll go into the sketch. To go with this sketch. No, which sketch do I want? This sketch, and I will grab all of that and scale that. I'll show you an interesting trick on scaling. Would you say 10 inches you want it?
Yeah.
So I think it was what did I say, 6.9, 6.8. So let's say if I make it, so I can actually type in math here. I think I can go 10 over 6.8, and that will scale me by the right amount to get it to 10. Sort of like Microsoft Excel. I don't know if you ever use Microsoft Excel, but you can punch in math and have it figure out math. You can do the same thing on this.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That's cool.
Not everywhere. That's why I sort of set it as a question, because some places you can do it, some places you can't. But it let me do it there, so that's what we did. So now if I take that measurement again, I don't think it's gonna be 10 exact. I don't think you care too much if it's 10 exact. I could have possibly made it 10 exact. So yeah, it's 10.04. So yeah, 10 and a 32nd or so. Well, 10 and 40 thousandths. So all right, so that's a little better. Like the lines are a little thinner now. They're not thinner; just they look thinner because everything else is bigger, right? So would you prefer me to go forward with two different line thicknesses, or do you want it all uniform still? I don't care either way.
I think we're still missing part of it, aren't we?
Yeah, I want to decide which way to do it before I finish it.
I think the little maybe. I don't think we can go much thinner than an eighth. We'll probably need to make the other one thicker, I would think.
Huh? I was gonna say we could always make the other one a little thicker. I mean, I'm open to either. I'm just thinking of the best way to the way to give you the best looking output is what I'm thinking. Yeah. I mean, here's what I can do, and it's obvious to me. Being that it's parametric, that's the keyword is parametric. So I can change the parameters, and it will change its shape based on my changing the parameters. So it's parametric. So I'll do it as two separate groups of bodies, and then we can give them either the same or different thicknesses and adjust those thicknesses after we're done. So it's going to be a little more work to do it into two separate groups, but I think it'll be worth it in the long run. It'll give us more flexibility.
I see what you're saying. You're going to make all of the outside lines one group and all of the inside line, or all of those little diagonal lines separate groups, so you can just change them individually.
Exactly.
Pretty cool. I see what you're saying.
So if I go back in here, so basically I'm gonna clear this because I want to get rid of a bunch of these. I'm gonna clear selections, and I'm gonna do this. Hopefully this plays nice. Looking good so far. Jesus, I was just about to say, wow, this makes it easier, but I spoke too soon. It choked. What part of Texas are you in?
Dallas.
Oh, you know what's funny? I was asking that. I was thinking. So, but you said that video is in Florida though, because I was like, wow, you get some great riding down there. I wouldn't be offended if you invited me and my friends down there to go riding. But you said that was Florida anyway.
Oh, I'd love you to come down here, man. You'll love it.
Oh, I
We've
know
got
I
some
would.
great places.
I've been trying to get my friends to do a little bit of traveling down south. I'm still working on that.
If you ever want to come down here and ride, you don't even have to bring your machine, man. Just come on, and I'll give you something to ride.
Yeah. Careful. I'll take you up on that. Because now you're just a plane ticket away. Before I was towing down there. You know?
Yeah. I already know the struggles, man. It's a lot easier just to fly somewhere and go for a ride than it is to lug a machine and all that stuff. So.
Absolutely. So now I'll really push my luck. How many guys can I bring?
I only have probably one extra of every different kind of riding. So I have one extra trail bike, one extra mud bike, so probably just you.
All right. I'll have to settle for that. I say that jokingly.
I just bought some new trail tires today, man. I'm pretty excited. Rock climbing tires. Have you ever seen these Rockzilla tires?
Side-by-side tires?
Rockzilla.
Yeah, but they're for your buggy or for a bike or what?
Yeah. No, that's for my buggy. Yeah.
I haven't shopped for buggy tires at all. I still have my original tires on. I probably have 500 miles on my buggy.
These, for rock climbing, these Rockzilla tires are pretty cool. They're like real sticky compound, and they're. I've seen a few guys that have had them out when I was out, and I was amazed at how well they did. I'm pretty excited to try them out. I just got them today. They're kind of hard to get.
You say they're Rockzilla?
Rockzilla, yeah.
I try to see with the tread. Oh, it's like a truck tire.
Yeah, they make truck tires too, but they also make side by side.
Oh, I see them now. Yeah. That tread pattern's actually. I want to say that looks a lot like my stock tires. To be honest with you. Or I'm not sure if they look like mine or like my buddies. So three of us have.
I think your side by side probably has bighorns. I think they're bighorns. They're made by the same company.
Okay.
Usually, most of the stock bikes come with bighorns.
So I know. Three of us have Wildcat X. One of us has the Limited, and he has different tires than the other two. And that tread pattern looks very familiar. So I'm not sure if one of or both of us have a similar looking tire, or if one or both of us has the same tire, or what. But yeah, that's looks like a decent pattern. If you really want your money's worth, we'll probably stop in a little while because I'm getting a little slower as I get a little tireder.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm going to bed here soon too.
All right.
Once we get this thing put back together, I would call it a day.
Let's see. See if this guy plays nice individually. Yeah, so this geometry's not happy. And this, all right, so I just go in this sketch and fix this geometry. So that's probably.
What's the most expensive part you've ever designed in your life?
Oh, let's see. The most expensive part I ever designed in my life. There's always a few ways to answer a question like that. I designed one part. It was basically two parts, but it would have been one part, but you just couldn't get aluminum of that quality thick enough, so I actually had to make it out of two rather than make it out of a 7-inch thick aluminum plate. I had to make it out of 2 4-inch thick plates and bolt them together and machine all the parts away. And the quotes for that were anywhere from like $8,000 to $40,000.
Wow.
I'm trying to think if I made any parts more expensive than that. There's got to be, some of that spacecraft. Yeah, I mean, we made some stuff out of this material called Hyperco, which is a high performance magnetic alloy, and just the material alone, I want to say like the forging was like 20 grand just for the forging, and then we would have to get it machined, and it was real tricky to machine. And I'm not even sure what the machinist charged us, but definitely, actually the machining on that was probably cheaper than the raw material. That's probably
what was it for? What did the part become?
It was basically for a Hall effect thruster.
What?
It's called a Hall effect thruster. So if you type in go to busek.com, BUSEK. Oh, I'm sorry. B is in boy. BUSEK. S.
S is in Sam.
Yep. So this is where I worked at this place for about 8 years, and I left there on my own volition, crazy as it was. I left there to start my company. I was one of their. There's probably 50 employees at that place, so it's a small company doing sort of subcontract work. But anyway, so you see at the top of this list, Hall effect thrusters. So if you click on Hall effect thrusters under products.
Okay. Yeah.
Click on Hall effect thrusters. So those things right there, they're basically electromagnetic ion pumps that act as a thruster out in space. It's sort of like if you put your dirt bike in 100th gear, you wouldn't go anywhere. But if you could get a good start, you could go really fast. So like you couldn't use one of these things to launch into orbit, but once you're in orbit, they use these to maneuver satellites and probes, like deep space probes. They tend to be ion thrusters because the ions move a lot faster than the rocket flame. Like if you use a chemical rocket, the flame is only moving so fast, so you have a top speed. Whereas the top speed is like I say, it's like 100th gear. Takes you forever to get up to speed, but just keeps going faster and faster and faster. But so that's what there were a lot of magnetic parts in these Hall thrusters, because the list on the left says Hall thrusters, electrospray, ion thrusters. Those are all different types of ion thrusters, and most of them don't use magnetics. But those Hall effect thrusters do use electromagnetics, and so therefore you'd use super high performance magnetic alloys. It's really expensive stuff to make. But anyway, where was I? I'm trying to fix geometry.
That's the next level. That's some next level stuff there.
I learned so much at that job. It was awesome. I mean, it drove me crazy in a lot of ways, but I learned a ton. So this geometry is fighting me. I think maybe it's this guy. Why can't I select it? Fight me. I'm getting tired.
You want to just call it a night, man, and maybe clean that thing up and turn it into a part for me tomorrow, and just text me or email me the part.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. You don't need to see every step of it, and I'll get this over the finish line, and then we can reconvene, mostly at your convenience, at our mutual convenience, which my schedule is quite flexible. I mean, this is my full-time job, so just give me a little heads up. I can tell you I'm not available Saturday.
That's no problem.
I can be available Saturdays. Just this Saturday, I'm actually taking a client to the Boston Bruins games Saturday. So that should be interesting. The guy's from New Jersey, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Boston coming up one of these weeks." He said we should do something. So I was like, I better make it interesting, So I got some sweet Bruins tickets, so we're gonna go watch a hockey game. So, but other than that, I'm pretty flexible. Let me know when you want to continue this.
Okay. All right. Well, I look forward to. Just send me a text tomorrow. You have my email or no?
I don't think I do, but I don't think I need it. I have your phone number, and I have your. I can text you, or I can send you a message on Upwork, whatever.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just send me a message, and I'll get you a way to send this thing to me, and tomorrow, and I'll take a peek at it. Okay.
Yeah. Just FYI, if I can just send you the CAD file, and you should be able to open it in your SolidWorks.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I won't be able to. If you send me a CAD file, well, I won't be able to easily open it, and it's a sort of a long story. But like, you could send me a dumb solid, and then I could work from it. But the SolidWorks does it on purpose so they can get extra money for us, which is fine. Now I'm a capitalist.
Right.
But so
If
basically,
I send you a 19, it won't allow the 17 to open it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you can export it. You can export it to a dumb solid, then I can import it. Just that I
Okay.
can't. From there, I can't edit the sketch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's no
I
longer
get it.
parametric at that point. But anyway,
Right.
just I'm going off on a tangent. So yeah, I will. I'll finish this up. Yeah, tomorrow, which is today at my time, and send it off to you, and then we can figure out where you want to go from there.
Okay, cool. Thank you, man. I had fun tonight.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Dave. Talk soon.
All right.